Добрый день, меня зовут Дмитрий Гуцко. Но для начала, может быть, я попрошу пересесть слушателей с левого фланга от меня, потому что мне будет проще рассказывать на один монитор, а нас не так уж много. Дело в том, что много будет скриншотов, и где-то я буду лазерной указкой что-то показывать. Я думаю, будет проще нам сконцентрироваться где-то в одном месте. Да, спасибо. Так, ну давайте начнем тогда. Вроде бы все, кто хотел, подошел. Еще раз, меня зовут Дмитрий Гуцко, я являюсь экспертом компании Positive Technology и занимаюсь безопасностью SAP. Сегодня тема моего доклада – методология атаки на SAP. Для начала хотел бы сразу объяснить, что в рамках своего доклада я не буду представлять все возможные варианты атаки на SAP, их очень много, а сконцентрируюсь на основных нами используемых в наших работах по проведению аудитов, пентестов и так далее, ну, каких-то пресейлских работ. Ну, в общем, как-то так. На данном слайде представлено содержание моего сегодняшнего доклада. Я сегодня расскажу, как построить атаку на SAP, начиная с самого начала, не имея никаких знаний о системе в начале своего пути. И в конце дойдем до методов развития атаки, таких как переход в другой клиент, переход в другую SAP-систему и сокрытие привилегий в SAP-системе. Ну, поговорим, как нам сокрыть в системе профиль SAP у того или иного пользователя. Вот так. Что касается верхних прямоугольничков, данные темы были освещены нами на предыдущих презентациях PHDays и других. Можно найти их в интернете. Поэтому на них не буду задерживаться. И также они были сегодня освещены утром на воркшопе по SAP. Там вы могли более детально посмотреть. Но, естественно, я их коснусь. Там буквально 2 слайда на каждый прямоугольник. Дело в том, что на всякий случай я их вставил, потому что, рассказывая о методах развития атаки, чему у меня посвящена основная часть моего доклада, наверняка у вас возникнут вопросы, с чего, собственно, начинать и как получить какие-то первоначальные данные для того, чтобы уже осуществлять какие-то более сложные вещи. Для начала несколько слов о архитектуре. Наверняка все знают, что SAP-архитектура – это обычная, типичная трехуровневая архитектура, представляет собой три. Ладно, так меня лучше видно?
Can you see me better in this way? Please don't take any seats there on the left-hand side corner. I would like you to take the seats in the center. I would like you to take the seats in the center. So it's a 3-tier level architecture, database, and from the attacker, all 3 components shown here. This next slide is showing the attack itself. Well, the attack to break into SAP, they can use any vectors. For example, they may compromise the client by monitoring the keyboard strokes, store this information in some text files, and very often SAP experts find such files with all the passwords in them. The next thing is the server application link, where all the information is sent in the non-encrypted way. I've never seen people using the encryption. Application server, the nodes, the password, and the vector that I'll be describing again. Access to the database. By getting the access to the database, you will be having all the necessary information. So we'll just start from the beginning. What can we actually start from when attacking SAP? We scan the 3200, 3300, 3600 ports and some other ports. These are the main ones. 3200 ports, 3300 FC protocols and 3600 protocols message server. You would discover those ports, and obviously those ports are hiding SAP server. Database might also be very interesting for us, so that we can attack the database. What else can we do in addition? Available clients. We can check the passwords by default and identify the database server, which I already mentioned. What are the applications that we can use in the first stage? Max Perl and the ping test mode Sopito and console router by PT, which uses the RFC protocol using the vocabulary. Oh, I see some more people coming. Could you please take your seat here in the front, if possible, of course. So, console router, which we saw in the morning. There were a few slides dedicated to the console router. Then I'll explain the clients. What we need to select the clients for. The client is a hierarchy. It's a smaller hierarchy than SAP instances. It's the logical split of SAP instances into components. For instance, if we want to have one client storing data for one organization, another one for another one, SAP basically means that won't be able to get data of one client to another one. In a typical architecture, there are approximately 4 clients. 0000001, 066, 800. The client is actually 3 numbers. I will explain it later. Technically, the client okay, I'll try and show it to you. Technically, all the SAP charts, charts are showing the number. Well, while checking in SAP, they use this number and they only get access to certain mandates. Where we have applied a hack, we see the data from all of the mandates. So physically, the table is the same, but it stores data from mandate 001, 066, and others. Why why it's important for us to select all the clients, because every client has its own users and they've got their own passwords. For instance, we use a very strong password in the 800 client. We could have changed the other one, and we could be using that and use this as an opportunity for the attack. Default password, just a couple of words on it. We know this topic and we've known it for a long time. Just take a look at column 3. That's what we have done. Pre-sale. Statistically, I've taken 8 customers and they still use the default password in real practice. That's what I know from statistics. Plus the fact that this year alone I have defined the password for TMS ADM, not a standard password, but looking like this on the screen. An interesting one. Which one? This one is used in new systems as a default password. We should always check and verify this password. These are the slides showing the Bruter. This Bruter sets a dictionary, vocab with passwords as well. For example, default passwords are input there and we brute force the system. This Bruter is looking for all possible clients, and then for every account they try to select the password, match the password. Well, approximately 5 attempts to input the password before the account is blocked. As far as you can see, 2 attempts are enough to check it, whether there's a standard password. Statistically, we'll be able to find a breach even at this level. The last thing I would like to show is how we get information from different RFC functions, modules, which do not actually, which are not used, which use this information in an unadulterated way. We got the system version with a database on the server host SAP2, more useful information. There are plenty of RFC modules and you can use them to get some initial information. So we move on, the direct access to database. You may be aware about that feature of SAP. Just a couple of words I would like to share with you. Server application database, the Oracle database in this particular case. How does SAP and Oracle work? The password is stored in a database server. It's stored in a database server, and this password is encrypted. SID ADM user can get access to the password. To get a hash of the password, what we need to do is the authentication on the system. After the authentication is done, hash is given to us. How it could be restored. You can use the utilities to do that. So probably we use this particular algorithm. We take a notebook, for instance, create a user. We know the SID. If we don't, we could have received information about SID previously. Create a user. We log into a database. It does not have any requests. It gets a hash to this SID user, it restores it, and we have all the passwords restored. On this next slide, you can see these passwords, these screenshots with the actual procedure of how we restore the passwords. Hash and password restored. And then one of the most effective ways when we intercept this password while it's transmitted and sent through network. We use a non-encrypted body of a password, and the RFC password could be easily restored. For this we'll just need to use the man-in-the-middle-like attack, so that the traffic between the client and the application server goes to our trusted host. We get that package, and then by using the decompressor with the DIAC protocol, simple maths with the RFC protocol, we use it. Here is the login, is available openly, and the password is encrypted or hidden with the key, with the use of the key. You can get this key to decrypt the password by creating a user with the length of a password of 40 symbols, and restore the key. And the key will be identical for all of the RFC connections. It's not too difficult to intercept the password. We can use the HTTP as well, which is obvious, but those were boring details actually. And one final boring topic about password restorations. I'm showing here how we develop the attack. On the first stage we get some registration data. On the second stage we try to increase our privileges by brute force. SAP has a few algorithms of storing hash files. You can use them on the chart. USR02 is the most popular one. Use John the Ripper tools or Max Planter, whereas the latter cannot be just fed the hash table. Max Planter is better for the actual living system. This next slide is showing you the details. Just a couple of words I would like to say. There are some outdated, old algorithms. There are some new ones storing the hash and the passcode algorithms. Storing the hash, so we can restore all the passwords, create plugins for John the Ripper, so that John the Ripper can also restore passwords. I'm showing you the two parameters if we set these parameters right, we'll be generating a strong and weak hash, which we can make good use of, and start selecting the words from our dictionary, starting from a weak hash. Thus, it's using just the first 8 symbols of that password for generation. Special symbols are avoided, and everything is put in the uppercase. You can easily just match the right password. I will take your question later, because otherwise we can get quite late, because we have 2 speakers to go, and we have to make it on time, so probably I'll take your questions later. For instance, we have decoding. John the Reaper is used here. SAP 12345, password, the first 8 symbols, 100%, plus the case. There may be 6, 7, or even 8 symbols there. But this password was operational. It was working well to enter the database. A few more words about more interesting things. For example, we entered the system, so how do we spread the attack on the other clients and the other SAP systems? So in order to overcome the client, we can use 3 options. First of all, there is just one available on the internet, correct me if I'm wrong if there are more, is a homegrown software, because we have a special word in the SQL requests, which allows us to rip out the data of all the mandates. We saw that actually at one of the first slides. OSTN4, that's what it's called. It allows you basically to evaluate the performance of the database, but apart from that, it also allows you to come up with the random SQL queries in the mandant. In the end, we get data from all of the mandants, from all of the clients. For example, count the number of users in every client. That's what we can actually get by using other techniques and other methods. Another method which uses approximately the same logic. We get data from all of the mandates, the data we need, for example, salary sheets, some hashes from users. Thus, basically, we can spread the attack and focus on other clients. The next approach is launching commands through operating system. SM49 and SM69. SQL query is generated. We'll put this query into one SQL file. What's good about that is that we don't need any authentication. It's done by operating systems where we can get access to everything. We don't send any login or password. When we get a chart, we get a table of all of the users that we worked with previously. And one final slide of mine is the homegrown software. Yes, you can develop, if you are a developer, use software to compromise the system. Here it's called Z22. Just insert client specify line, and this SQL query puts all the same data. In other words, developers may get access to other data easily, to salary charts and everything else. You can basically get access everywhere. And here is the next item, access to other subsystems. Here I'll be showing the CUA. An SAP may be connected through RFC to CUA systems, another SAP server, CCMS. They use RFC connectivity for that. For RFC connectivity, for RFC connection, you show the login and the password in an adjacent system. You can restore those passwords. Now I would like to show you how it works. This is the transaction which allows us to tune up the connection. For example, the RFC production connection is taken here. Here's the host. On the next slide, we can see the user, its password, their password. You can find the user in the table. Okay, it's here. Connection, our user, and the password. This password shows that the password is stored in a secret storage. And this password storage is a chart. But if we'd like to use the SAP tools here to show the data, we won't see anything basically, and we'll explain why on the next slide. I decided to take a look at this data without limitations, where you can see that in the mandant field we have underscores when the system sets the mandant. There is no such data, no zero value, no 0, 1, for instance. So it's a form of protection of the SAP in E16. So it prohibits access directly to this table. We use the transaction, we get this value, put this into decoder and get a password. We can use the name of the user, username, and the password called goodbye. It's good that this has limited rights, but very often it's not the case.
проводя аудиты, пентесты, тестов
And when we
систем,
have pin tests,
получаем таким образом учетные записи
we can
продуктивных
easily
систем.
get
Можно получить.
accounts of the productive systems,
И,
for instance.
соответственно, мы, подбирая пароли по
Thus we can
RFC-соединению, можем путешествовать
dial the
из
passwords
одного SAP в другой.
through RFC connections and travel from one SAP location to another.
Так, на этом этот квадратик закончился. И последний, что я хотел рассказать,
And one
про свое
final
исследование.
part
Понятно, что
of
цель
my
злоумышленника,
presentation.
пробравшись в систему, это, наверное, назначить себе максимальные полномочия.
The hacker would like to get maximum rights and remain unnoticed by admins and auditors.
Какое мое исследование? Сокрыть профиль САПО. Это профиль, который представляет все возможные права в системе.
The profile which
И не быть замеченным транзакции
provides all the access in the system and remain unnoticed. These reports that I'm showing you are well known to all of you and show the auditors, the users who have appropriate rights. This is the old tool with some deficiencies and disadvantages. So, I've created 5 ways. To avoid that report. The first one is a well-known reference user-like approach where you create templates with data which could be inherited by other users. These reports use the test reference user. And we don't really know who inherits this from this user. We don't see it here. So, if we have a reference user with some rights, then we won't see the users that inherit these rights from them. Another very simple example, create a SAP 0 profile, which will be similar. We'll create a few profiles, 1, 2, and 3, which have the same authority. And users with SAP 0 and SAP O profiles are the same authority-wise. SAP 0 profile is identical here to the SAP O. And test 4 is not here, it's missing in the report. I tried to put that into another profile, and it traces it down, and you cannot cheat on it. And here is the user with 12 dots. User 002 hiding away. We gather the users matching a certain criteria, and we reach the line 1509, where we remove this user and we won't have it there. We wrote about that to SAP, and they promised that they would fix this bug until the end of the year. You may want to try and create such users. Your feedback may be interesting to me. Please tell us if something works. This code string. I would like to show you that there is the SAP O profile for inheritance. 12 dots are missing from our search results. So what if we can put delete user list, delete user list, where B name stands for 12 dots. We need to confirm that we have been developing the code, enter the password, and enter one more additional password. But you can find such a password generator. They are available on the internet, and you can find it with no problem hiding any user. Basically, they won't be able to find you in the system. And one final method I came up with. Okay. Let's do it like this. When you assign SAP profile to any user, information gets to a few system charts by SAP. And it turns out that we get one set of tables for one user. And different ones for authentication. The chart I showed you contains information about inheritance. Profile user, and so forth. What if I delete the user? So what do we do here? 749 transaction. I create an SQL request, I remove. First of all, I assign the test 0 user SAP all profile, then we delete the profile from the table. So miraculously, if we take a look at the test 0 user, we have no rows. No, sorry, we have no profiles, no rows. It's invisible. Test 0, I think. Test 0. Test 0. Test 0, not here. This user, if you take a look at this slide, can edit SAP asterisk users. I'm showing this at this slide. So no one can see us. We have a SAP all profile, but no one knows about that. And we can do almost everything. It works like that. My part is over here. I spoke for 40 minutes instead of 30. However, I should say a few words
скажу, что ничего не получилось из того, что говорил я. Вот. Есть другой способ.
there is another way
Это взлом через транспортную директорию.
of hacking it through the transport directory.
В воркшопе сегодня.
We spoke about that
Интересно, что
in today's workshop in the morning.
как мы выяснили, внутренняя компания Anapsys.
The Anapsys company has studied that as well. So it seems like we did that almost at the same time with them. We published our thesis on that matter in April, which they did as well in France. And the presentation was dated 3 days ago. It was dated 3 days ago. But just one exception, we did that completely, and they are describing the hypothetical way of doing what we have done in practice. But we've done it completely. We've prepared the utilities already, which allow us to do everything we want. So, Oleg, over to you.
Добрый день, меня зовут Ключников Олег, я работаю также.
I'm Oleg Kluchnikov. I work where Dmitry does, do almost the same he does. Dmitry has announced me, so I have nothing to speak, nothing to say in my introduction, so I'll start with the first slide. The specifics of SAP transport system. People have not addressed the transport system of SAP so much time as it deserves. So we decided to find out what it's made of and what we can result in ignoring it system or neglecting it. The standard system looks like 3 landscapes. Development, quality and PRD. The changes in PRD start from development. Developers create an application, test it. When they think it's done, they close it and they send it to the quality QUA, and then it is sent to PRD, and all the businesses are enjoying the work they have done, the work the developers have done. Seems like the changes move from one system to another, to the third one. But in actual fact, it's not so. As soon as they deblock the first one, the file is created in the transport system right here. After they approve this in quality, the query goes to quality, where it's tested for changes, and the query is put into PRD. Then it goes exactly into PRD. So in actual fact, all these changes have been in a transport directory, in a file. It says exactly like what I was saying. File request generation, then quality. In normal business systems, it has a certain form or shape, rather. Then it's put into a test system. And then the same applies to the productive system. Then I would like to say a few words about the specifics of the SAP transport system. All the queries are put into the same folder. There are thousands of queries in a shared folder. The access is granted to everyone. It's crucial for all of the systems, and all of the users should be able to get access there. If they don't, you won't be able to launch the system. So if you do something bad with that folder, it will make a great impact on them. A lot of admins don't really know what this folder is about, with all them encrypted files in there. The source code control is not performed. For example, there is a request file, we may drill down it, and as we drill down, we'll be drilling down the actual software, and we won't be able to see what's in the file. It just contains the link. In many cases, the control is not performed, or you just simply drill down the code. They may check something with thousands of lines of code. Manual control is impeded. One had 15,000 files, the other one had up to 30,000 files. Don't really understand what kind of control we are talking about here. Okay, what are the deficiencies? As it turns out, you can substitute the source code by replacing the query file. The encryption algorithm is not strong enough, so they could have unpacked that to replace and substitute the code. Algorithm is simple. These libraries are available on the internet. Python supports that algorithm, and the algorithm protection is obvious, so they could clearly see what was happening and unpack that. Integrity control for the files is not sitting there either. The system is not just verifying this. It just needs to match the format. So our attack scenario, we look for transport directories with the query files. We see that there are some files that are fresh files. Seems like that they have not been transferred anywhere. We unpack them, change the content, pack it back. As soon as it's completely approved, and when it's put into the PRD, we can make use of it. We see it's the same with all the systems, it's the same transport directory. This system is running the first. Okay, we'll check the content of the trans data folder. where the queries are sitting.
Так, вот я взял тут вот 5 апреля, 11, 12, 25 апреля.
April the 12th, April the 25th, it's the latest one. April the 25th, April the 25th. So we take the file. We take the file.
Вот, мы берем этот файл.
We take the file, we unpack it
У нас есть утилита.
with the utility.
Распаковываем.
We unpack it
И получаем файл, на самом
and
деле,
we get the
который,
file,
по сути, ничем не отличается от того оборота,
which is
который
not
был сделан
different from the web code
То есть мы
the
получаем
developers had created.
распакованный файл,
So we get the unpacked, readable file, and we can do anything with that.
мы добавляем туда свой код.
Then we add our code there.
Я делал просто процедуру,
What I did
для создания нового пользователя.
is created a procedure for creating a new user with a SAP all profile and a simple password. So we pack it back,
Если этот файл мы снова подменяем транспортной
replace
территорией,
this,
возможность, время, дату создания файла просто
replace transport directory with this,
не выбивался файл из общей, так сказать, картины.
make sure it looks like the other ones.
И теперь у нас уже
And right now,
история. То есть вот мы файл
it's another
поменяли,
story.
добавили свой код.
We have changed the file, we have added our code.
Теперь
Ideally,
вместо настоящего файла пойти
instead of a
в систему
real
quality
file,
так как мы
it should go through the
писали
quality
свой код,
assessment.
та разработка, которая была сделана в девелопменте,
And the things which were done in the development sits here. They use the code, they don't see our software, so it will later be going to the PRD, the software, I mean. Actually, we will repeat everything I described earlier. We wait until it is confirmed and approved and tested. Depending on what we insert in the code. So we are waiting for the file. The query was changed, and we see when it gets to quality and when it gets to the PRD, production. It was sent to quality, then to the PRD, and the changes were put in there. So how can we actually use the code? There are plenty of options there. For example, this code can be run by the end user. We will also be adding this code to the standard SAP software. There are plenty of those running. When we launch a transaction, like any programming language, its capabilities depend on your ABAP profile. We can send it by email or share it, or create a user with the SAP all profile, SAP all profile, or create a backdoor, of which Dmitry was talking about. Create the SAP all user. We can deactivate authentication temporarily to make it less noticeable. Unblock the user change the password in central way, create software for reading any random data. We can use the RFC software, which will be running any transaction without authentication.
Еще стоит сказать, что не обязательно ждать того, что запросы перенесут в систему.
You don't need to wait till the queries are transferred to the system. You can actually use the command line interface. All the procedures of the admin just launch TPX Z. So we get the ADM rights and we can mandatorily run these commands, transfer commands. These are the two commands, buffer and import. Here are they on the slide, but you'll have to get access on the operating system level. Now it's time just for a couple of questions to both of us, if you have them. We'll just have a couple of minutes, but I think it will be more than enough.
Вопрос в том, как обнаружить пользователя тест 0, который был последним.
The test 0 related question.
Там мы удаляли записи с таблицы Use 4. Сейчас ответ такой. Даже пример, как мы это делаем в раскладе в режиме forensic.
How are you doing it in a forensic mode?
Просматриваем не одну таблицу.
We are looking through not just one table, but we look through plenty of those tables containing the information about the SAP all profile. There is such a chart. If you check this chart, it also has the SAP all profile. So we'll try to find the difference. If there is somewhere the SAP all profile, we may suspect that there were malicious activities attempting to close the profile. Okay. Thank you.
Да. Рекомендуется использовать последний, понятное дело, и рекомендуется отключить обратную совместимость. Дело в том, что при включенной обратной совместимости генерятся как последние хэши, так и хэши меньшей стойкости. Поэтому даже если вы используете алгоритм, один из последних это H и I, так вот, I алгоритм подразумевает под собой генерацию всех трех значений. Поле B-кода, паскода. И таким образом, начав с поля B-кода, как я говорил, можно сначала установить первые 8 символов пароля, потом продолжить атаку на все остальное. Так вот, если отвечать на вопрос, какой самый рекомендуемый использование, это H. Данный алгоритм генерируется по 40 символам, использует случайную соль, которая хранится в том же значении. Вот. И плюс, наверное, немаловажный, то, что брутить этот пароль мало кто может. Вот только сейчас мы пишем плагин. Если брут паролей по предыдущему алгоритму уже давно разработан многими, то сейчас только подбирается к алгоритму. Сейчас. Ну, я говорил, да, что мы плагин делаем для John the Ripper, который, будет тоже доступен для использования для подбора по словарю учетных записей и с этим алгоритмом. Вот. Да, это все внутреннее. К сожалению, так. Мы демонстрируем возможность, вот, но распространять мы не готовы. Все. Всем спасибо.